Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Quebedeaux, the home of all kinds of best food you can find in Central Louisiana. If you like Cajun, it's on at Quebedeaux. And right now it's time for the Bryant Bell Show. And we got Coach Bryant Bell with us. Coach, glad to have you here. I know you're just flying in from practice. And
came off the practice field 10 minutes ago.
Somebody actually told me they drove by and saw you guys kind of hold up and kneeling, or texted me that. So they knew you were kind of wrapping up, and you said you were headed this way. Glad to have you here. We were not here last week because of the hurricane that was not.
That's right. I joked with Jason Hawk today when we did our Jason Hawk Player of the Week. I said, I mentioned that. I said, this man right here is more thankful than anybody. This insurance man.
That's right.
So, but we're glad we dodged it.
I heard a joke years ago that said that the best way to have a good friend is to make sure he's an insurance agent, because he's the only one of your friends who does well when bad things don't happen to you. If you have friends who are mechanics or plumbers or electricians, they really do well when something bad happens to you.
That's accurate. Yeah.
But I'm sure. Who did Jason Hawk give the player of the game to?
We actually did two of them today because of we were hurricaned out last week as well. Carter Smith got it for week 1, the New Iberia game, and then LaMarcus Thiers, our middle linebacker, had 13 tackles last week, as well as Jacob Miranda. So he got the Jason Hawk Player of the game.
Well, I was calling LaMarcus's name quite a bit last week, and he was really all over the place, and, of course, Jacob as well. And we'll get back to that in just a minute. We wanted to kind of explain to folks, last week we just followed the Rapides Parish protocol, which was they canceled all activities for that particular day, and I didn't mind it too bad. I got to go to somebody. We had canceled church at our church, the day before, so I got to go to somebody else's church that night. So that was kind of nice. But you came back from that, came into the Friday night contest against Avoyelles, and you came in 0-1, having lost the first game against New Iberia. We'll chat about that in a second. But the mindset of the young men against Avoyelles seemed to be ready to play.
Yeah, it was. We feel like we let the first week get away from us a little bit, and so they were ready to go, and we showed up and played. We had a few too many penalties that we got to clean up to be successful, but the game didn't start the way we wanted it to. But
they got that onside kick. They recovered.
We just sort of hung in there and survived the first wave, and then it was a good game after that.
Well, I sincerely doubt you go back and watch my play-by-play. In fact, I hope you don't, because I'm not the best or most skilled at my descriptions. But
I actually do.
You really?
I like to go back and watch it the next day. For just to be able to enjoy it for one, but also with our offense we're running, it helps me really see our tempo, because the way we video, we start and stop and between plays, so it helps me sort of get a good sense of the flow of the game.
Well, we had what's called the LAC, Louisiana Athletic Center. They're sponsoring the keys to the game, and one of the keys that I brought up last week was don't let a big play define you. Don't let one big play define you. And we had that situation where we had the fumble at the 1-yard line, right? And so that was the question: will that play define us? And we were so excited in the booth to be able to say it did not. The guys rebounded from that, and then just came back and seemed to dominate the entire rest of the game.
Yeah, we're not going to let any play define us, and I was just as happy as you are to have them bow up right there on the goal line, and after that we sort of took over, but it was good to see.
Well, as these young men are maturing, and we are getting used to this high octane NASCAR offense. I'm not sure there may be a better name than NASCAR. I'm sure there's a better name for it.
It sounds good enough to me.
Yeah, it is just speedy, and you don't have a whole lot of time to commentate between the plays. How do you train young men to be that prepared? Are you calling 3 plays in advance? How are you guys effectively doing that?
It has to be it has to be simple. It can't be complex. It can't be overthought, and it has to be practiced. Just today we ran. Offensively speaking, we probably snapped the ball 100 times today. So you have to practice it. It doesn't just happen on Fridays, and it's unfortunately we're in a little heat snap again. So the guys definitely felt it, but they battled through it.
Well, conditioning is huge. We talk about if you're going to run a fast offense like that, then you have to be able to be conditioned, because you're going to be on the field a long time. And the other team you're hoping, and we kind of saw that the other guys were getting winded in that third and fourth quarters.
That's the goal. And and I'll say this: it's really helped our tempo of our offense. I feel like has really helped our team in the fact that everything is so we bounce from thing to thing better now than we've ever done before. Transition time's better, and everybody has more of a sense of an urgency about things. And I think that's is what's rearing its head on the field in a positive way.
So as big as that win was the second week to get it, obviously the loss the first week was disappointing. I want to go back and talk about that
Sure.
a little bit. New Iberia came in. I don't recall playing them before. They were new to me. Are they a team that you were familiar with?
No, they're not. They needed a week one, and we needed a week one as well. And it was. I knew it would be a good matchup. I knew it would be a good game, and it was. They're a good team. They have an all-district running back, a two-time all-district running back.
He was
a big load to tackle. He carried the ball 40 times, I think. So he's definitely a man. And he ran hard, and they had a big offensive line, and couple those two together, that was, in my opinion, the difference. The difference in the game, and we lost the turnover battle.
Right.
I think we had 3 turnovers, and they had 0. So you're not going to win games when you do that. Well,
we were up 16-0 at one point in the contest, and the reason I mentioned the big play, not the big play, I hate to say that it seemed like that one pick six kind of deflated us for a little while, but then you saw the guys really working their way back into it, and do you use that as morale builders? How do you face adversity?
Yeah, well, we lost the game, but I think the guys saw that they can play with another big school team,
right.
And
5A team
for where we are. That's a good thing. They see that, hey, like we can move the ball, we can score points, we can stop these guys, we can compete on special teams, and now they truly believe they belong on the field with anyone, and they do.
Well, I don't necessarily track Jason Hawk's players of the game. I had given Carter Smith the player of the game during the Jamboree, and then the second week I gave Aiden Tate the player of the game against New Iberia, and then this past week with consultation with you, Jacob Miranda, and so truth be told, from now on I'm going to be calling you on Saturday morning because it's one thing to see it and call it live. Randy James is here, and appreciate the phenomenal job that you do in the stadium. But we get so excited up there. Sometimes we might get overloaded on 1 or 2 big plays, and then we come back and we realize this guy had 13 tackles, or this guy had 3 blocks that completely blew everything up. So it's really good to have a little time to reflect on it, and so that's why I want to be talking to you. I want to bring up Jacob Miranda. He's a senior this year and providing that type of level of leadership that you expect from seniors, and I'm pretty sure I have a graphic for him. There we go. Here it is coming up on the screen right now. Jacob Miranda, number 2. And tell us about this young man. What have you seen in him this year, developing into that senior leadership?
Well, like you said, he is our leader. He's our emotional leader, our vocal leader on our team. When he speaks in the locker room, guys listen, and it takes you can't just be the team's best player and earn that. You have to earn that, through diligence and work ethic and all the intangibles, and he's a great combination of physical and emotional attributes as well. Comes from a great family, and I'm going to miss him when the season's over.
Well, we're thankfully only on the second week, 2 weeks into it, got 8 more to go.
Right.
So we won't start talking about missing just yet. But some other young men that we started something new this year that is being sponsored by Express Pros, and it's called the You Had One Job Award, where we want to identify an outstanding lineman each week.
I think that's a great idea.
Isn't that a great idea?
Yeah.
Because I always have felt like the linemen don't get enough attention, enough credit.
They don't.
So we have given so far the first 2 games. We're given Dayton Bass. He's our center, if I'm not mistaken,
yes,
number 69.
Center.
And so he got that, and then Dalen Tatum, a junior, number 60. And you helped me with that. Tell me what you think about what you see in these 2 young men and why they get this award.
Well, to start off, in our offense, you're used to quarterbacks say, with a cadence, downside hike and then the ball snap. But in this offense, the center is the one that actually makes the verbal calls. So, he's the one he's the one starting the plays. He's the one that he's in the middle. He's making the calls, and you know, he's been with us for a long time. He just loves football. He deserves to be there, and he deserves any recognition he gets. With Dalen Tatum on the defensive line, you know, you might have seen a video on social media over the summer of him squatting 600 pounds for like 5 reps, and he probably could have done it more, but he squatted 550 for 8 right before that. So he was a little out of gas, but he's our strongest pound-for-pound kid on our team, and you know, he's become, you know, Mr. Reliable right there in the middle of our defensive line. So, you know, we're extremely proud of Dalen.
Well, we look forward to each week picking out a new lineman. And I've often said, especially on the offensive line, the only time their name gets called is when it's a hold. And we want to make sure these guys get called for all the positive things that they do, open up the holes for our thunder lightning backfield of Mix and Tate. So let's talk about that. I'll tell you what we need to do. We need to take a real quick commercial break, and then we'll come back. I want to talk about this 1-2 punch from the backfield.
Okay.
And then we'll look forward into talking about Tioga in a little bit and what's coming up on Friday night. So thank you, everybody, for being here for the Bryant Bell Show live from Quebedeaux. We'll be right back right after this.
Yeah, so what happened out there tonight?
We struck out at home with leftovers, then we remembered walk-ons.
What effect did the situation have?
Spirit soared. Nick took on a burger. Jen obliterated her ribeye po' boy. And speaking of spirits, Laura even scored a real tasty cocktail. She needed that.
Any lessons learned today?
Yeah. Head straight to walk-ons.
Scratch-made dishes, wall-to-wall TVs, craft beers, and cocktails. Walk-ons for the win.
BK Distributors is proud to support high school athletics on 446 Sports. BK is the one-stop shop for trophies, banners, awards, letter jackets, and just about anything award-related. And now, welcome BK Apparel and BK Promotions to the family for all your spirit apparel needs and anything you need to brand your business. When you think of anything you need with your name on it, think BK. Check them out on Facebook or at bkdistrib.com. BK Distributors, apparel and promotions in Pineville.
We've all seen how quickly things can change. Everything from the world around us to the cost of things we use on a daily basis. That's why we all need someone in our corner to keep our family protected while still watching out for our pocketbook. I'm Jason Hawk with Farm Bureau Insurance. There's no better time than now to complete an insurance review to make sure you're properly covered and not paying too much. Whether it's in our office, at your home, or your place of business, let us help you find peace of mind. If you're in need of your insurance checkup, whether auto, home, or life, talk to Hawk at 318-791-HAWK or online at talktohawk.com and let us help you protect your biggest investments.
Our mobile banking app is changing the way we bank. Things are getting easier, transactions are getting safer, and you have access 24/7. All the functionality of banking you're used to, made easier to use, anywhere, anytime, and more secure than ever. Simple, seamless, safe. Download our mobile app today.
And we welcome you back to Quebedeaux, where on the screen there are boxes around our faces. And apparently I don't have the camera set up just right tonight. Randy, have you ever seen that? How those boxes, you know, it's trying to do face recognition. So, hey, we've got boxes. But we're busting out of the box is what Pineville's doing this year with the new offense. I have followed Pineville for many years. I've never seen a speed offense like this. And, you know, many times I mentioned a while ago the Aiden Tate, Hakeem mix, 1-2 combo. That's not an uncommon thing to see, you know, a big power back and then a small speedy back, but it seems to be really effective. Hakeem is a small fella, but he is elusive and so hard for anybody to get their hands on him.
He sure is. You know, when you run this offense and you run the number of plays that we want to run per game, you know, you can't expect one person to carry the whole load. They'd be carrying the ball every, 10 seconds, and you know, they would literally pass out from exhaustion. So you really have to have two guys, and we're lucky to have two guys with Hakeem and Aiden. And you know, they're really good friends. You know, but they push each other in practice, and they pick each other up when they need to, and they hold each other accountable. we're actually developing a third back to go with him. Hopefully,
Okay.
a young guy named Jaden Clark. We think that he'll be able to spell him a little bit, and he ran some last week.
We did see him towards the end.
Number 20, I believe. But he wasn't just there for mop-up duty. That was a planned deal to give him some touches, and we think he did a good job, and we think we're on to something there. But it's good to have a reliable pair in there.
Well, let's walk through the starters that we have. This is our offense. Folks are looking at on the screen right now. Our line, Elias Sellers, who I think I saw you tweet this week. Coaches, college coaches, don't miss out on Elias. What do you think about this?
I think he has a huge upside. I think he's a guard or a center at the collegiate level. But I think I don't think any of us. I mean, none of us really know how good he can be yet. He's a young senior. I wish he would have.
You wish you could redshirt him, right?
Yeah, I wish we could have him another year, just like most of our guys are. But if he gets a little bit taller, he'll be a big prospect. But as is, he already is in and of itself.
We've got him listed at left tackle, which for many people would understand as the blind side of a right-handed quarterback.
Right.
At left guard, Kelby Clayton. I don't have their classifications on here, so I can't remember off the top of my head.
Yeah, you got Kelby and Brady McCann at right guard. They're both juniors, so we'll have them another year. They're also best friends. We call them the Bash Brothers. They're really never apart. We stuck Dayton in between them at center, but if we wouldn't have done that, they would have, they would have been together always. They walk in the field house together. They get out of the same truck, and they're best friends, and it's a good thing.
And I think I've got Cameron Perry and Brady McCann's flipped on my starters here, so I need to go back.
Well, Cameron's our right tackle,
right?
So he's a senior, and we converted him over from our defensive line in the spring. He's been a great addition to our offense, and is kind of, in a way, was kind of the missing cog there for our offensive line. He's got really good feet. He can run, and he's one of our strongest guys on our team, and he's doing great things for us.
You
this year.
mentioned Dayton Bass already, the Express Pros. You had one job award recipient in week 1, so that rounds up your line there. We mentioned here Zach Tranchina as a tight end, but I see him lining up a lot of times in like that front back.
Yeah, I mean he's listed as a tight end, but he's an H back.
Yeah, an H back.
He's doing a great job. He's a senior who's waited his turn. I mean, it's if you would have asked me when he was a sophomore, would he be a starter one day? The answer probably would have been no. But he was a defensive lineman back then, just never really got on the field. And this year we said, hey, come play H.
He
for
doesn't
us.
look afraid to block.
He's not. He's doing a good job. He splits time with Dusty Russell, another senior. Who's a guy that, again, has waited his time and is doing good things for us as well.
Well, a hard thing about a starting lineup is you only have 11, but you guys are moving people in and out a lot, right? So I've got Landon Grimes and Matt Edwards as wide receivers, but Justin Rachel gets a lot of time out there. In fact, the cool play of the game, we're going to go to that in a minute, was that
you really have 15 or 16 starters on a one side of the ball, and we got a good little receiving core. Some guys are faster than others. Some guys run better routes than others. Some guys catch the ball better than others. So, the 5 or 6 guys that we do use, they complement each other. They have different skill sets, and we try to use each skill set to the max that we can.
We've already mentioned Hakeem Mix and Aiden Tate, and I got to make sure I spell his name right. I think on one of our 446 we had A-I-D.
Yeah, you got it right there on that.
Grandma will make sure to correct us, or mom or grandma or somebody. We certainly appreciate that. We want to make sure it's right for you. And again, Carter Smith as a sophomore quarterback, and that's what I wanted to get back to you and talk and ask about as a sophomore quarterback. That's a leadership position, and he's one of the younger men on the field. How is he handling that?
He's probably the quietest guy in our locker room,
really?
Which isn't really ideal for a quarterback. But when he's on the field, he gets the communications made and does a great job. He's growing in his poise. He's learning how to be a quarterback more as opposed to just learning a playbook. And he's getting better week by week. He's really just growing in front of our eyes, all of our eyes, and it's a pleasure to see.
Well, that's so great to see him mature and make really good decisions, for a young man. And then Jocko Lee, we've got him listed down here as our kicker, and I got to tell you, he's booming the ball.
Yeah, he's always. I don't really see Jocko in the off season. He's kind of different than everybody. He goes and plays soccer, and I mean he's kicking the ball, so I guess he's training all year round. But he's always been a skinny little kid.
Right.
But he came back this year thick, and I guess his legs got strong too, and he is booming it. I was tempted to kick a field goal with him before half last week, but we were up by a couple scores, and I didn't want to get one blocked and returned or something along those lines from for a far field goal. But part of me wishes I would have let him go out there and try to bang it through.
It feels like it's been a little while since we've had that consistency at the kicking position, and not to knock anybody, but his maturity level there, and when we're seeing his PATs could be good from 30, 40 yards.
He made a 35, 36 yarder against New Iberia
Sure
to end the first half. So I mean it's definitely there. It's definitely there.
Well, that wraps up, winds up your offensive side. I want to take a real quick, we won't spend quite as much time on the defense, but run down real quick and bring these defensive players up. Your linemen, we have 3, Dylan Tatum, Gerald Roy, and Brady Baden are the ones that I have listed, and I got a feeling that I've seen Brady really get after it this year as and get to call all these names, especially when we're playing teams that have the big run game.
Yeah, those guys, I mean, there's nothing more important than a defensive lineman. And, they're a lot like offensive line. You don't really call their name a lot unless they get a sack or something like that. But they when they do their job, it allows guys like LaMarcus Thiers that we mentioned earlier to run around and make tackles. So, those are real selfless young men that do their job, even though they may not always make the tackle.
Well, those 4 linebackers we have listed, LaMarcus Thiers, as you just mentioned, Brennan Davis, Micah Roberts, and Murphy Poole. And I know we call every one of those names frequently because they get in on tackles. They're always chasing the ball.
Well, if you're not calling their names frequently, those 4 guys, then it's probably not a good night for the Rebels. So that's a good thing. A couple of them are seniors, Brennan and LaMarcus, and followed by a couple sophomores. We missing Zane Seitz from there, big loss, a senior, another leader there. But the sophomores are stepping up and doing a fine job for us.
Excellent. And then our D-backs, Jacob Miranda, who got Player of the Week this last week, Ty Sanders, who we see a lot on returns as well, T.J. Edwards and Bryant Dearborn, and Dearborn flies to the ball. But these corners, these backs, talk to us about them.
They're probably the heart and soul of our defense right now. As with most good defenses, Jacob and Ty and Dearborn, we've been here together for 4 years now, and TJ is doing a good job coming up as a very talented sophomore, and I can't say enough about our defensive backfield. They're our heart and soul.
So you know a lot more about football than I do. There's no doubt about that. How often is a defensive back the return man? Is that common, or
I would say it's pretty common. But Ty's got a knack for the ball and hitting. As I say, hitting the hole. When he has the ball, and he's doing a good job returning the ball and giving us a good field position.
Well, it looked like towards the end of the game they were kicking away from him because they don't kick it to number 5. Don't kick it to number 5. So love seeing that. Tell you what, we're going to take another break. When we come back, I want to talk about last week's play of the game, the cool play of the game, brought to you by Southern Air. And also want to talk to you about one of our number 1 Rebel fans, give everybody an update on Robert Anderson. We'll do that when we come back. More with the Bryant Bell Show here at Quebedeaux.
To better serve our Senlaw family, Wallace Eye Associates proudly welcomes Louisiana native Dr. Nicholas Bro to the Wallace team.
I definitely feel very lucky and fortunate to be here with Wallace Eye and just to be practicing in Louisiana, born and raised and trained here my whole life. So I do feel very fortunate to be able to give back to this state that has given me so much.
Surgery, there's only one team, your vision. Wallace Eye. For best possible vision, look to Wallace. Our excellence in Senlaw. Years. From next to cataract and glaucoma evaluation to the experienced Wallace Eye Associates today. 484488 to schedule evaluation.
We welcome you back to Quebedeaux, where on the screen you're getting a look at the Quibicam. It's our in-house camera where you can see some of the folks that are joining us here on Coach Bryant Bell Show Thursday nights. Glad to have these folks in the house with us, getting a good taste of some good old Cajun food that courtesy of John Valenzuela, chef, executive chef John Valenzuela. He's a coach too. He's done some coaching in his years gone by. So I said when we came back, I wanted to give an update about one of the number one Rebel fans in the state of Louisiana, and that's Robert Anderson. A lot of folks are familiar with Robert. He has been a part of our broadcast team for about 3 years now, I think. He does our sideline reporting, sometimes helps out in the booth when we need, personnel changing around, and his son Landon handles the camera work for us. And as most folks know, this year Robert was diagnosed with the need for a heart valve transplant, and that has taken him out, put him on injured reserve, as we say. He had that procedure today, and I talked with Landon several times today. Things went very well. He came through the time in recovery room and is now in ICU recovering, and we look forward to having Robert back with us soon. But thanks to all of you. Thank you for your prayers and your concern for Robert. You guys gave him was it a signed football and
football helmet?
Yeah, and just he's just Pineville.
He is. There's no bigger supporter or just genuine. That's kind of the word that comes to mind for me is genuine supporter and fan, and he's become not just a supporter to us, but he's become a friend, and I certainly wish him well, and our prayers are with him for sure.
Well, we're grateful for that friendship and that support. So thank you to those of you who have asked about Robert. He's doing well, and he's in recovery, and he's got a few weeks ahead of him to recover, but that's all part of the process, and we know he'll be back with us soon. So keep on recovering, Robert. Get well soon. Last week I mentioned the play of the game, and there were actually 2 or 3 we could have chosen. It was so, during the commercial break, we were talking about the pass to Landon Grimes that he just ran underneath and took off. But the one that I picked was actually the play that put us on the scoreboard as we were trailing. I believe we were down 8-0, and so Carter's back to pass, goes to his left. He throws it, and it gets tipped at the 10-yard line, and somehow Justin Rachel had the presence of mind to see that misaligned ball and came down with it. I'm going to just let it run a couple times on the screen there.
Yeah, it was probably not a throw that you want him to make going back across his body, but it's a cool play in hindsight, and gets us all excited. So
and it got us on the scoreboard, which was a huge thing. So congratulations to a combination of Carter Smith and Justin Rachel on the Southern Air heating and cooling cool play of the game, and man, that just really a lot of fun to watch. What other big plays, or maybe not even big plays, but important plays stood out to you against Avoyelles Friday night that you remember that was a key play?
Well, we talked about it's not a play, but bowing up down on the goal line with our defense, or not allowing them to get in. It kind of gave the team the momentum that we needed at that point in time. Had some young guys step up on defense, and kind of when you play a double wing team that just sort of crams it in there.
Right.
You have to be disciplined and play assignment football, and our defense did a good job after that first drive at that, just staying consistent and staying on it. But, obviously Landon's touchdown pass, and, Aiden Tate always has some electric type runs in there. Kelmarian Phillips running a little reverse with him.
That was nice.
He turned on the jets, and that was he's a sophomore. He's electric would be the way to describe him. But yeah, it was good to see him turn the jets on, and he didn't quite get to the end zone, but he got to the 5 or so, and so there's just a couple plays that maybe you hadn't seen in a little while, but we're excited that we're seeing them in sort of bunches now, and we'll try to keep the good times rolling this week.
Now, we don't want to, we are doing our very, very best in the booth to not criticize officiating because of we understand that there's a human factor there, but it seemed to me you got more explanations this game than I've ever seen, where maybe it seemed like 4 or 5, maybe 6 times they're coming over and explaining the play. How often does that happen?
Well, some crews do a good job of sort of explaining when for a false start, you don't need an explanation or offsides, but some things you need an explanation for. Some crews do a really good job of giving you an explanation, and some don't. They did a good job of explaining some things, whether we agreed or disagreed with them. But at the end of the day, as a coach and as an official, all you can ask for is an open line of civil, communication.
I don't have the stats in front of me, but it seems like we stopped them on 4th down at least 3 times and maybe more, and those are big turnovers. And when you stop a running game like those guys,
a couple of those were 4th and short, 4th and medium situations, and our defense did a good job. And that kind of offense is supposed to get 3 yards, 3 yards per snap. Easy, but our defense did a good job, and the rest is history.
Well, the double wing that you call it, I got to tell you, from an announcer perspective, is very confusing. I never knew who had the ball. Because the quarterback spins and he's got 2 different people to hand it to, and maybe one in motion to add to the mix, and you're like, I don't know how those guys follow the ball.
You got to read your offensive lineman keys, and if you get caught looking in the backfield, you're gonna have a long night.
Well, your guys were definitely watching their keys because they didn't get off very many big ones. They got chunks, but not as many big ones as they would have liked, I'm sure. Well, that kind of wraps up the last 2 weeks. New Iberia, Avoyelles. We come into this contest Friday night 1-1, facing off against a Tioga Indian team that will be 0-2 coming into the contest, and I'm sure that's going to give them a little frustration as they come into it, but they're going to be playing at home. And what we'll do when we come back, we'll take one more commercial break. This is a 45-minute coaches show. We'll wrap up around 6:15, but we want to give our sponsors an opportunity to tell you about themselves. When we come back, we'll be talking about Tioga with more on the Bryant Bell Show right after this.
Hi, certified residential appraiser, currently a leading provider of appraisal, mortgage lending, implication, estate planning, and community property settlements. My experience in real estate over the years, currently serving as president of the Greater Central Louisiana, has given me a clear understanding of the real estate world and the ever-changing market we live in. Give me Kimberly Harrell.
Upside down, trying to save the keeping to plumbing, repair, do it all. Your one-stop sleepers. If you need us to save the day for Southern Air, at Southern Air.
Well, we welcome you back to Quebedeaux, where it's been silent for a few minutes. Folks are used to hearing Cajun music here, and but we have the coaches show here, but the commercials don't play over the loudspeaker yet. We're going to work on getting that done. But great to have all these Rebel fans here taking advantage of the special menu that John Valenzuela and his team put together here. If you've got Rebel gear on, you can then take advantage of that special Rebel menu that's available every Wednesday night here at Quebedeaux. And we appreciate John Valenzuela's support of the Rebels and all local sports. It's so important to have that. Coming up Friday night, Pineville is taking a road trip. First road trip of the season, but it's not as far as some of them are. We'll traveling right down the road, kind of crossing the tracks into Tioga, your old stomping grounds. You know a little bit about that place over there. So as we go in, and as I mentioned going into the break, they're 0-2, we're 1-1. Do you think that 0-2 motivates them any more than having had a win behind them? They're looking for their first win of the season.
Yeah, they're motivated. They're going to be motivated this Friday. It's going to be a packed out crowd. They're retiring one of their former players' jerseys at halftime. Yep. This is the first game on their brand new turf.
With their jumbotron.
Yes, and they're 0-2, but they've lost to a team that routinely goes to the Dome in Sterlington in Week 1, and they lost to maybe the best running back in the state of Louisiana in Week 2. So, their 0-2 record is deceiving. They're a good football team, well coached as always, and, a well-talented team.
So as we go into there, they're going to see a different Pineville than they've seen before because of the speed offense that you have. And certainly we don't give away anything in a coach's show that they might know might be because I'm sure everybody watches everybody else's coaches shows at some point to see if there's any tidbits. But, this will be the first game of the season for our guys on turf, and it's a brand new turf. How does a brand new turf play versus one that's maybe got a few years on it?
Maybe a little faster, but it's not a big adjustment in my opinion. These kids have sort of grown up playing on turf surfaces here and there, so it's not like 20 years ago where it was sort of new. We're looking forward to it. I'm not sure how their turf plays, but I guess we'll all find out about 5:30 or so on Friday afternoon.
So I haven't seen the new Jumbotron. I've just heard that they have it. And, in fact, we're doing something different Friday night for our broadcast. We're combining the Tioga crew and the Pineville crew with one camera, or one setup, I should say. And so, Coach, this is going to be very strange for me. But when Tioga has the ball, their play-by-play announcer is doing the play-by-play, and I'm doing color. And then when Pineville has the ball, I'm doing play-by-play, and he's doing color. That way he can say who got the tackle for the Tioga, and I can say who got the tackle for Pineville. That's the weirdest thing I've ever heard of. But they said we don't have enough room in the press box for two full setups like we have. And I'm not sure if that's – well, I mean, I'm sure it's true, but this is going to be quite an experiment for us. And I guess I'm just giving you a heads up that when you watch the replay, you're going to hear another guy shouting really loud for Tioga.
As long as you and Billy French don't get into a fist fight in the fourth quarter, it'll all be okay.
Well, I tell you what, give me a reason for him to be mad at me, and I'll be okay with that. I'll take the licks, As we go out there, do we have any injuries that we're concerned about heading into this week?
We're healthy. We're
Good.
Just as healthy as we were a week ago, and we're blessed we're blessed as far as that goes.
Very good. And as we look at these young men, I'm assuming that we will see the similar to what we've seen so far. You're very familiar with this coaching staff, having been a part of that for a while. What do you respect about Coach Cook and the program he has?
Well, Coach Cook gave me an opportunity to be a coordinator back in 2014, and when I was a nobody, just a biology teacher, coaching linebackers, and so I'll always respect him for giving a first timer an opportunity. We had a good time together, a good 7 years, and won a bunch of games. Went to a quarterfinal, and it's their kids play tough. He's a tough coach. They play to his personality, and he's a fine Christian man that puts Jesus above football, and I think that's admirable, and he's certainly better in that regard than I am, but it's something I strive for, and that's something I learned from him, and I'm grateful for our time together, and I wish them well starting in week starting in week 4. Hope they go 7-3 starting next week.
We jokingly talk about that around here. We want every Cenla team to be good except for the 1 week they play us. We'll be for them every other game of the week. As you mentioned, they're going to be retiring the jersey of Chris Williams this Friday night at halftime. They got some pregame activities going on as well, some festivities that are happening there, and so folks will want to get there early. As you know, Tioga packs it out on their side. Pineville will be on the visiting side, and you can have a different entrance there and follow the directions of the folks that will help you out. Let's look again at look ahead at the season ahead of us as I will bring up on the screen this schedule that we have. We faced off against New Iberia Yellow Jackets the first week at home. We also hosted September 13th the Avoyelles Mustangs. This starts the first of 2 road games where we're traveling to Tioga this week and then traveling to Leesville next week. The Wampus Cats, where Tioga I think just
they just played, so we've seen that. We watched that game. It's been a good video for us, but.
Right.
When I see Tioga's running back, running down the field, and then I see Ford for Leesville running all over the place, it's kind of a scary video. I wish I could hit delete and forget all about it, but 2 good teams.
You got to see both of them. The next 2 teams you're going to see. Unfortunately for us at 446, Leesville apparently has an exclusive contract with that NHFC or NCFS or whoever that ABCDEFG, and so we'll not be able to bring the games through our family network of platforms where I'm looking for. And then after that, we'll be back home for homecoming on October 4th, hosting the Red River Bulldogs. You know a little bit about them.
I have no idea about them. We'll find out together. But they were looking for a week 5, as were we. And after two games on the road, these next couple of weeks, I knew we needed a home game, and it's just a good time to have homecoming.
You know any of the coaches on that staff?
I have no idea. So we found each other on the
Oh, you're kidding. You're not kidding.
I'm not kidding.
I thought you – okay.
I'm not kidding.
I thought there was a connection there. Okay, my bad.
They had posted on the LHSEA website they needed week 5, as did we. So I called him up, and the deal was done in a day. So.
I thought you were being sarcastic. My wife tells me I'm horrible at sarcasm, and obviously I am because I thought you were being sarcastic and you weren't. Okay.
You can ask our players here. You can ask them if I ever joke. Sometimes they think I'm joking, and I was like, do I ever joke? No, you don't.
That's the one thing I missed. We didn't have the opportunity to bring a player on tonight because of our timing, how we're working things out. So I didn't get anybody to tell me a story on Coach Bell. But I've got my story. He doesn't tell jokes. After that, we look ahead. Starting October 11th, we'll have the beginning of the conference play, which we'll travel down. Neville, I believe this week was ranked number 1 statewide, if I'm not mistaken, and then travel over to Ash, which was in the top 15 as the ranks that I saw, and then West Monroe. We're at West Monroe. There was some confusion over that game early in the season, but it is an away game.
It was just a typo. It was always their game. My fault.
Yeah. So, but and what's odd, they're not in the top 15 in this week's ranking. But you look at this District 2 5A, Neville, Ash, West Monroe, and Ruston in the top 10. There's no lay down weeks.
It's big boy football, no doubt about it.
Well, that's what's coming up. You got the schedule on the screen in front of you, and we look forward to being with you next week and in Tioga. We hope you'll come on out. This is one of those things where we say to you, don't watch the game on Facebook. Come out to the game and support your Rebels, and then you can go back later and hear me mess up the calls and have fun and laughing at me with all that goes on. But we're so glad that you were with us this afternoon. Coach, thank you for giving your time. You don't have to do this, but it's for the men. I know that's your desire, and we want to continue to support them every way we can. So for Coach Bryant Bell, I'm Nathan Martin. Thank you for joining us for the Bryant Bell Show here at Quebedeaux. We'll see you Friday night at Tioga.